Hello everyone, this is Dr. Giridhar, Associate Professor from the Department of MBA, Sayadri Commerce and Management College, which is a constituent college of Coimbatore University, Shivamogga. Today I am going to take you classes from Unit 9 to Unit 12. Let me start with the industrial sickness. Let us understand what is industrial sickness is all about. So, an individual person, sickness is nothing but unhealthy. For the industry, if any company's financial health is not good, that is said to be industrial sickness. Say for example, if a company's profit is not good, or operating profit is not good, turnover profit is not good, it means it is turning towards the industrial sickness. But there is a deep understanding as far the industrial sickness is concerned. If any financial year production capacity goes down below the 50% of average of its 5 years, so then it is turning towards the industrial sickness. Let's go one by one looking at the different meaning and definitions of industrial sickness. Look here, as for this is concerned, if any financial year is failed to generate the surplus profit, then it is turning towards the industrial sickness. So, this is one of the meaning. Another meaning is says that as for the industrial sickness, if any industry is having the problem in the liquidity, means if they do not have a liquidity, excessive liquidity, that is one. And if there is a revenue loss, if there is an operating loss, or if a company is moving towards any other external these kind of the losses, this is called as the industrial sickness. In toto, before going to the definition, if any industry's financial condition is not good, it is slowly turning to be industrial sickness. Let's move on to different definitions, how RBI and various acts define the industrial sickness. Look here, if as for the Reserve Bank of India, this is one of the very important definitions which is given on the industrial sickness, that is, cash incurred for 1 year is likely to continuing the losses for the current year or many more years. If there is a loss in 1 year and that loss is going to be continued for the subsequent year, that company or that firm is in the industrial sickness. And as for the definitions of Companies Act of 2013, they have entered deep into the industrial sickness. According to this, accumulated financial loss in is 50% or more subsequently for preceding 5 years. That is said to be industrial sickness. And they continue that if any company's financial condition is not in position to repay the debt which is taken by the financial institutions or banks or anybody, that is also industrial sickness. In toto, if the company is not earning the profit or generating the profit, if their operating profit is coming in the diminishing side, and if they are using capacity, production capacity less than the 50%, then it is to be sick industries. And let us now go to the features of industrial sickness. Probably now we have understood what is industrial sickness is about, all about from the meaning and various definitions. Then what happens if the industry is under sick? Let's see, one, there is a socio-economic problem. If the one industry is under sick, or if various industries are under sick, people usually going to lose jobs, and there is an unemployment problem happens, and many other socio-economic problems. Say if one employee is working in an industry, 5 members are depending on him, and if there are 1000 employees are working in an industry, 5000 people are depending on him, and therefore this is a problem for that particular individual who is working and his family, like that it spread across the country. And the second one is outcome of various causes. If industry is under sick, there is a problem of finance, problem of technology, research and development problems, marketing problems, sales problem, human resource problems. These are all interrelated problems. So therefore here, if there is a loss in the production or the stoppage of production, another meaning, the definition, one of the definitions is that if any industry is slowly is not utilizing the production capacity, then obviously the problem starts with the production department, slowly it goes to the finance department, slowly it goes to the HR department, and it goes to the R&D department, and many other department happens. So therefore, and let's move on the third feature. This is visible symptoms. If any industries is under sick, the kind of sickness we can see, that is through the financial visibilities and profitability. Probably if any industry is under sick, the first thing which come to us is there is a revenue loss, there is a profit loss, there is an operating loss. So therefore, it is not we need so many days, so many months to understand our industry is slowly turning towards sick. All such problems are visible. And next, the fourth problem is serious consequences. If a company is turning towards a sick, the consequences, one starts with the employees, they are going to lose job, or they could be having the 50% of the jobs and 50% there is layoffs. So then the consumer, the problem with the investors, the people have invested, shareholders are invested huge amount of money on this company, believing that the company would do the better in the market. So then, I mean, if the face value of the share is ₹100, believing that this company is doing the better business, and if it is doing the better business, the face value will go up to 150, 200, 250 or something like that. If the company is turning towards a sick, slowly it's going to lose its face value. So therefore, all the stakeholders, including your consumers, your employees, your suppliers, your financiers, are going to lose interest in you. So therefore, this is what the serious consequences. And finally, it hampers the economic condition of the country also. And the fifth characteristic feature or the factor is gradual process. Not all of a sudden a industry is going to sick. Slowly, probably the entrepreneurs or the managers who are managing the company understands our company is going towards the sick, because utilization of the production capacity slowly goes down. Say for example, you are selling 1 lakh units in a month. Slowly it comes down to 80,000 units, come down to 50,000 units, come down to 40,000 units, because your marketing department is not doing good. If your marketing department is not doing good, slowly somewhere the quality of the product is problem. So therefore, it is a gradual process, not all of a sudden it happens. So that's what the fact. Now let's understand what type of sickness a industry is having. There are, as you guys are watching through the slide, there are 3 types of sickness. One is born sickness, become sickness, and made sickness. As for the born sickness is concerned, when you establish a company or when you formulate the company, the moment it becomes sick, maybe the project plan which you have, or the vision plan which you have, or the mission statement or the mission plan which you have is not perfect. And so here maybe your project itself is a poor planning, and the project appraisal may not be good, or you have invested huge amount of money by believing the false fixed installment. I mean, if more than the necessary, if you have invested huge amount of money on land, building, plant, machineries, technology, etc., and later you don't have the money for your current meeting the working capital, so then obviously it may be so all such. And if you must know before launching the product whether I'm going into monopoly market or the duopoly market or the oligopoly market or perfect competition market or imperfect competition market. If you are into monopoly market, unless your product is quality, the technology is so good, the price is so competitive, probably you cannot survive in the market. So therefore here, if you are going for one customer, one manufacturer, one customer, in future it may be a problem. So therefore these are all the various reasons how a company becomes sick by birth. And next, born sick by birth. The next one is become sick. See, born sick means during the establishment of your company or your industrial enterprises, due to the poor project, it may born sick. But become sick, it is the problem with you, or it is a self-committed problems. Say for example, the people who are in the board are the CEO of the company, or the managing directors of the company, or the managers of the company are not having the good managerial skill, or not having the better technical skill, or not having any other skill in industry, gradually become sick. And another, deliberate diversity of funds. There are a number of examples we can quote here by taking the example of Kingfisher Airways. They made the profit and diversified their profit in other portfolio. You have invested a project and you are earning a profit, and that profit, if you are going to invest in some other business which is not necessary, probably it is another reason why a industry is going to sick. Then the wrong recruitment. So as for the HR rule says, you have to recruit the right people for the right time in the right job. If at all you have not recruited the right people for the right job, or if you have not recruited the skilled people where in head is required the skill, so then this is another reason. And employee management policy. If there is no cardinal relationship between the employer and employee, another reason how a company is going to become sick. So this is the second. And third, let's see, made sick. See, born sick, maybe we are having a problem with our project. Become sick, maybe lack of managerial understanding, lack of skills with the people, it becomes sick. But made sick, this is a external factor which is not in the hands of the management. That is a political problem, economical, ecological, political, socio-cultural, demographical. There are many factors come into picture. So now if we take example of the natural calamities, there is a flood, there is a famine, where you cannot sell your product more. This is another reason. So political changes. Say for example, in the year 2006, when the coalition government came into existence, Kumaraswamy then was the chief minister. He banned Iraq and lottery, and thousands of families in Karnataka were depending on distribution of the Iraq, distribution of the lottery, but all such families came to street. So this is another reason how industry is made sick. Hopefully now you understood all these three concepts, how an industry is going to become sick. Now let's understand the causes of industrial sickness. How an industry becomes sick? There are two important causes. One is the internal cause to become sick, and external cause to become sick. Let's go a little more detail. Now let's review one by one as far the internal causes is concerned. One is a technical feasibility, where your production is making use of the technology at the larger extent, and the manufacturing of the product definitely demands the high technology, whereas your technicians are not good, or the technology which is used by you is not good. So for example, why today's cooperative banks are not able to compete with the multinational banks or the foreign banks? The reason that today we are having a mobile wallets, and the people are going for mobile wallets for their shopping. Still, you just look at the cooperative banks, they are not at all using, they are still in the bank counter. You are going to go to the bank counter to withdraw the money, to deposit the money or something else. But as for the multinational banks are concerned, anywhere, anytime banking, 24 into 7, you can do the bank. If the bank is not going for the core banking facilities, or they don't have the online banking facility, they don't have the mobile banking facility, probably they would be nowhere. So this is an example which I have taken. So that's what it says: inadequate technical know-how. Know-how is nothing but knowledge. The next one is the updated production process. If your production process is not updated, you have not updated to the automation, and you have not utilized artificial intelligence, probably you are out of the world. So therefore, to have updated technology, you got to use artificial intelligence, automation process, anything else. So technology is one of the major reasons why the companies is going to become sick. Another one is economic viability. Economic viability is one of the basic funda. If any healthy company turning towards the sick, first, it's a high input cost. Usually what happens when we are going to fix a selling price for a particular product, we're going to cross check all the cost. We're going to add the prime cost, which includes the direct material, direct cost, direct labor, which is called as the prime cost. Then we're going to add a factory overhead. We're going to add supervisor's salary, foreman's salary, factory rent, haulage, many other things. We're going to add it. So then we're going to add office and administration overhead, office manager's salary, clerical salary, then the office rent, and other stationaries and all. And finally we are going to add selling and distribution overhead. Once you add all such overhead, it becomes a total cost. So then we are going to add certain percentage of profit to the total cost, then it becomes a selling price. If your total cost itself is huge, if at all you have used the outdated technology, see, let me take the example here, the Mysore silk. Probably most of the ladies agrees with me that there is no parallel for the Mysore silk saris. One of the best in the industry as far the quality is concerned, but in terms of the rate, it is very, very high. It's a huge, because of the huge production cost. They have still used machinery for weaving, spinning, dyeing and all, which are installed almost 20-30 years back. Then how come you expect that you're going to produce more? So it is against the mass production. Then obviously if the production is decreased, the cost of selling price would increases. So therefore here we have to take a case of this. And the next one is the break-even point is too long. As for the break-even point, let's understand what is this break-even point. No profit, no loss point is called as a break-even point. So till reaching the break-even point, company would be under loss. Once it reaches, there is no profit, no loss. Once it crosses the break-even point, company starts earning the profit. So then how we calculate the break-even point? So fixed cost plus we're going to add the variable cost, we would get the total cost. And the sales revenue would be on the other hand. So when the sales revenue and the variable total cost crosses and touches, that point is a break-even point. Let's understand why break-even point come into picture here in case of the sick industries. Usually what happens, as for the finance is concerned, payback period must be very less. It must be 2 years, at the max 3 years. Payback period means you have invested 1000 crore as a capital investment. To get back your 1000 crore, you have to get it back within 2 to 3 years of time. If you just get it back, that is called as a payback period. A payback period itself is a break-even point. If you touching the break-even point, if you take 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, probably company in future never sees a profit. The best example for this is again Kingfisher Airways. It never see the profit. It had a very, very long break-even point because of many reasons I could quote here. For the break-even point. Then is unduly large investment on the a fixed asset. As I told you in the beginning while explaining you the meaning and definitions, unnecessary if a company is going to invest on the fixed asset. What are all the fixed asset? One is the investment on the land. Say, let me take here the example of the Tata Nano. When the Ratan Tata thought of to manufacture a car for the Indian middle class people at the selling price of 1 lakh, that was his idea to start a Tata Nano. And he purchased almost 800 acres of land. Just you assume for an acre he gives 10 lakh, for 800 acres how many crores? So then he has to construct the plant, procure the machineries, appoint the people. If you are going to invest huge amount of money on the fixed asset, probably you don't have the money for anything else later, even to give an advertisement in the newspapers or media or wherever. So therefore you have to check before you invest on the fixed asset whether that much investment is necessary here. The next, let me go for underestimation of the financial requirement. Before we start any company, we got to prepare a budget. So then what do you mean by a budget? Budget is nothing but a statement of an income and expenditure, or the revenue and expenditure for a particular financial year. We expect what is the revenue we are going to have in this financial year and how much investment or how much expenses we have to be incurred in this financial year. If there is a mismatch, and definitely it happens, you would be having a shortage of working capital and you never get a profit and there would be an operating loss. So many things certainly happens here. And let me go for the third point here, the production management. If everything goes well in the production department, probably industry never turn towards the sick. The major reasons a company turning towards a sick is the production. Improper production and operations management is one of the major reason. One is a poor capacity utilization. So here, in the definition itself, I have seen that if you are able to produce 1000 units, the capacity is to produce 1000 units in a month, but maybe you are recruited the unskilled people or the semi-skilled people, or the people who are recruited are not skilled one. Then what happens here? Probably capacity utilization gradually decreases. In the place of producing 100 units or 1000 units, let's take the example of the 1000 units in a month you are going to produce, and it slowly decreases to 950, 900, 800, 500, probably your industry is going towards the sick slowly and gradually, that we can understand. So, and the next one is high wastages. Usually, if any company is having the more wastages, and obviously most of the raw materials are scarce today and the costly one. And if there is a more wastage of your raw materials and any other ingredients would be another reason for industrial sickness. Another one is inappropriate product mix. So let us understand what is product mix is all about. Mixing or blending of the different products is called as a product mix. Say if I take the example of Hindustan Unilever Limited, HUL. Okay, they are manufacturing and marketing more than 200 plus product in the market, and Procter and Gamble the same thing. Say HUL, Hindustan Unilever Limited, is into hair care segment, dental care segment, skin care segment, hair care segment, what not they are into, beauty care segment they are into. In the cosmetic, they are manufacturing more than 10 different bathing soap itself. Their products are competing with themselves itself. Take the example of either Pepsi or Coke. Probably Pepsi itself is having more than 10 products. Coke itself is having more than 10 products. Their products are competing with themselves, with their company product itself. So therefore, if any product which is in the present product mix is irrelevant and which is not making the profit, which is a cost, then that would be a another reason. Right. And inadequate maintenance and replacement. If you have not maintained your machineries, your materials well, your plant well, would be another reasons. See, if the machineries are very fluent in its operating, then obviously there would be a speeder production, and you can expect more production there. And another important problem in the internal causes is the labor management. One is, if there is no cardinal relationship between the management and an employee, it's one of the crucial reason. And you need just 100 members for your production and everything. You have recruited 120, 130, 140 members. So here you are paying excessive salary. It's a burden on the industry, and once you recruit them, you give a training to them. So then development and increment, salary, so many things which are unnecessary burden. And the next one is lack of trained and skilled labor problem. So in India, we are facing the problem of this. So Indian, one of the gained entrepreneur, Narayan Murthy, the founder of Infosys, says that 95% Indian engineers are non-employable. And he says the problem is they are not having the skills. So if the engineering student, this is the fate of the engineering students, you just think of the other students. Yes, very rarely we are getting the skilled people, and once you recruit and give them a training, and people are not ready to equip the skills. So this is another reason. And the next is excessive high wage structure. So now government is revising the minimum wages, budget to budget, and the minimum wages itself is very high. And if you need to give minimum wages of 25,000, 30,000 to a blue collar job, they just think of other jobs, and you need to give a huge amount of wages. To match with the wages, you have to increase the selling price, and if you increase the selling price, probably consumers would refuse to use your product, refuse to buy your product. So that is another reason. And the fifth reason, the fifth cause for the industrial sickness is marketing problem. As for the marketing problem is concerned, any department in any company would be having R&D. And some companies are having a separate R&D department, and big companies would be having the R&D department in the marketing department itself. If a marketing department is having the research and development department, they would do the study on the consumers, they would do the study on advertisement, study on products, study on price, study on distribution, everything. See, if a company is being given the advertisement in television or any other things, then they study whether our advertisement is reaching to the consumer, our advertisement is creative or boring or informative or infotainment, etc. Or you have launched any product. Then after launching the product, you got to understand by doing the research whether your product has touched the heart of the consumers, or it's how is the appearance of it, technology which is used in it, everything you need to cover. As such, if at all you have not been doing it, that is the problem lying with the management. And another one is, the sixth one is financial management. See, finance is the lifeblood of the business. Probably you cannot expect any enterprises without the finance. If that is not managed properly, so then your company would be certainly under the problem. So here adequate working capital management. So then how can we find out the working capital? Current assets over current liability is a working capital. You add all the current assets and you deduct current liabilities. What you get is the working capital. If you have not managed it properly, so and the next one is the deficiency of fund. You need working capital for procuring many things. If there is a deficiency in the working capital, or if there is a deficiency in capital, This would be another reason for the industrial sickness. And the last in the internal factor is administrative management. See, the people who are in the board, who are the board of directors, they got to have a knowledge how to run an industry. They got to have a knowledge pertaining to the legality, and they have a knowledge of marketing, finance, HR, everything they must know, and they got to give a lot of focus for the research and development activities. If the management itself is incompetent, they are not understanding what is going on in the market, they are not assessing the strategy which is used by your competitors, probably your industry would be miserably fail, your company would be miserably fail to compete with your own competitors. So therefore here another the last point with internal is lack of timely diversification. See, unless your company is going to diversify, if the industry itself is under the problem, I'm not talking about the company. Company is different and industry is different. To make you to understand the company, SBI is the company, banking is the industry. Canara Bank is the company, banking is the industry. LIC is the company, insurance is the industry. So this is what the company and industry is all about. If you won't diversify in times of difficulties, and in times where you are unable to sell your product, so then you have to diversify it. So therefore, if you don't diversify, and probably slowly you would become sick. And now let's look into the external factors. One is we have seen the internal factors which can be controllable by the internal management. But as for the external causes are concerned which cannot be controlled by the management, one is the infrastructural bottlenecks. As for the infrastructural bottleneck is concerned, the very first was irregular supply of raw material. It is beyond your control sometimes. This is a rainy season, the raw material which you need to get, unable to you get it, or you are running the iron and steel industry, you need to get the iron ore, and it depends on the government rules and regulations. If you won't get the iron ore for manufacturing of the steel, so then there would be a interrupted supply and you got to stop your production for a week or for a fortnight or for a month. You just think of, if an industry is going to stop it for a week and you have to give a salary to everybody and your all maintenance costs you have to incur, it would be another problem. And if there is a problem with the transportation and chronic power cuts, very regularly if there is a power cut and your industry or your production is largely depending on the power, if there is no power, and there would be a stoppage of your entire manufacturing process. The next one is the government control and the government policies. Most of the time companies are depending on the government rules and regulations. We have n number of laws. We have a company law, we have to run the company according to the law, we have an industrial law, we have so many laws are there and we have to follow it. If the government is going to have a price control where you don't have the liberty to enjoy the fixing the MRP, so then whatever the government fixes you have to follow it. There are so many, we are saying petroleum product, LPG, and so many products are controlled by the government where you don't have the autonomy to fix up the prices, or the bus fare of KSRTC and Nandini milk prices. We can take so many examples. Though your industry is under loss, you are not in position to increase your selling prices. So then the abrupt change in the government policy. There is a law, there is an act, there is a policy, you have been following it, and the government all of a sudden it has changed its policy. Whatever the policy, maybe incorporation, maybe research, maybe in the production, maybe in the marketing, maybe in the prices, whatever. If government all of a sudden changes, so then this would be another reason. And the next one is market constraint. If there are difficulties in the market to make your product to move or to promote your product, to sell your product to the final consumers. So, one is a market saturation. Market saturation means you are almost in the, the product life cycle. It's going to start with the introduction stage, next is the growth stage, next is the saturation stage, next is the decline stage. You are in the peak. You cannot sell more than that. Say for example, there are 10 companies selling the same product, and yours is one of the company where you started with the 0% sales, and after crossing the introduction stage your total sales has reached 2%. So, next growth stage your total sales has reached 20%. In the saturation stage you have 24%. Since so many years you are having the 24% market share, you can't go beyond that. So, industry is saturated, you can't sell more. The next stage itself is a decline stage. Say you take example of any western countries, they cannot sell desktops or laptops, every individual is having it. So, why the most of these companies are heading towards India? Because here we have a huge population, growing populations, and higher education is more here. They can sell more and more desktops, laptops and all. Still our India market for this product is not saturated, still in the growing. You take example of any western countries, their selling of these desktops, laptops are almost in the saturation condition, they cannot sell more. So, that is an example for the sickness. And the next one is exogenous factor, other factors. One is natural calamity, as I told, which is beyond the control of the management. You are operating an industry which is in the Malnad region, there is a landsliding, then the industry goes off. Okay. If there is a flood and that flood washes out the entire manufacturing process, another. If there is a natural calamity where famine, where there is a famine, people have no money, then how can they buy your product? So, all such natural calamities are extraneous factors which is the beyond the control of yours. Okay. So, now till now we have understood what is sickness, what is the meaning of sickness, and what are the definition of the sickness and the causes of sickness. We have seen the internal causes, external causes. Probably now you have well versed with how an industry is going to become sick. Let us understand what kind of a signal an industry gives you. I am not going to explain all such because this is a self-explanatory. If you look into this, you understand. One is the declining the capacity utilization. I explained you in the meaning in the definitions. When the capacity utilization goes beyond the 50% of the average of last 5 years, it is the signal that your industry is going to sick. Then the shortage of the liquid funds, that's what in the definition it is covered. If there is a shortage of liquid funds to meet the working capital, it is giving a signal. And the next one is excess of inventories. So, if there is an excess of either raw material or the finished goods, it gives you some hint of the sickness. I tell you how. Every month you have been buying 100 quintals of raw materials, okay, and you are selling 100 quintals of output, and every time you are buying the 100 quintals of raw materials, and if you go to godown, in the godown you could see 150, 200, 300 quintals of raw material, excessive raw material. How? We are unable to sell more in the product. So, therefore, our production capacity has been decreased. By knowingly it is decreased, that is another signal that industry is going to be sick. The next one is no submission of the data to the bank and financial institutions. Every time the banks and the financial institutions going to ask you financial details from you. If you are failing to update your data to such concern, they would understand that something is wrong with your business management. The next one is irregular maintaining the bank accounts. Usually if your business is growing well, going good, and obviously your transaction would be good with the bank, and you update your accounts every time. If you are not doing it, it's a signal. The next one is a frequent breakdown of the plant and equipment. Why there is a breakdown of the plant and equipments? You have not used the newest technology, or the machinery which is installed by you, maybe stale one, maybe outdated one, which they expect a lot of operations, lot of maintenance, and if every time there is a breakdown of the machinery, and it gives you a hint that you have to change your machineries. So, and the next one is a decline in quantity of product manufactured or service rendered. That's what I told. If you are unable to sell more, there is an intense competition in the market. Means you have not updated your product, what the industry expects, what your consumers expect, what your customer expects. So that is another signal. The next one is a delay in fault and a fault in the payment of statutory dues, such as provident fund, sales tax, excise duties, etc. Every time if industry is doing well and we pay income tax on time, excise duty on time, sales tax on time, we make the payment to our own employees on time, so then we'll give a EMI to the banks and other financial institutions and our suppliers on time. If something misses out, it is a hint that industry is not doing good. The next one is the technological issues and frequent personal turnover. If there is a more attrition among the employees, it is giving some hint that industry is not doing good. What is attrition? Attrition means the present employees quitting the job and new employees are coming and joining the job. That's called as attrition. So if there is more attrition, that is the signal which we need to understand that something is wrong with our industry. Now let's look into effects of industrial sickness on economy. Okay, so now we understood that what is sickness, what are the causes of sickness, and what kind of a signal it gives us. Fine, now our industry has become sick. We have understood that our industry has now become sick. So then what happens if our industry is going to become sick? The problem with losses to banks and other financial institutions. One industry does cross together turnover, and you have taken the loan and you are unable to make the repayment. Otherwise, if you have not taken the loan but you don't transact with the bank, then slowly, if it is a story of a single company which is under the sick, if hundreds of companies are going to be sick in the subcontinent like India, then definitely it harms the banking sector. The next one is unemployment. I mean, in the introduction itself I told, if an industry is going to become sick and it terminates its people, and if a person who is earning 50,000 rupee is terminated and is unemployed now, and his children are getting education, and is feeding to his parents, his spouse, his children, and getting his education, and now what he is going to do? And if it is the story of the one industry, if hundreds of industries are going to become sick, then the unemployment problem rises across the continent. Then industrial unrest. Unrest means something would not going according to your expectation. Something is a problem in the industry itself. Then the wastage of resources. As we all know, resources itself is scarce, and we are extracting the natural resources and we have to utilize it, and if it is not utilized on time, probably such would become a wastage. The next one is revenue or loss to the government. If an industry is running well, he recruits thousands of people and they are all going to pay the income tax, and if they make the shop, they would pay the GST. and the company if it import the goods and it pays octroi. If it manufactures, they pay excise duty. If they if the company earn profit, they pay income tax. Lot of this kind of the tax would be paid by the people, entrepreneurs, promoters, and the company itself. If a company closes, lot of there is a greater loss to the government in terms of the revenue is all about. The next one is adverse impact on the related industry. See, if one iron and steel industry is working, many small scale industries are depending on it. Okay, or if automobile industry is there, if there is a company which is manufacturing the four-wheeler and he manufactures only engine, and depending on this four-wheeler automobile industry, there are tire manufacturers, tube manufacturers, bearing manufacturers, piston ring manufacturers, nuts, bolt, many other small scale industries are depending on this particular industry, and there would be a total loss to all such. The next one is, and the last one, this is adverse impact on the prospective entrepreneurs and investors. If an industry is not doing good, say for example, if there is a problem with the casting industry and you are doing automobile engineering or the mechanical engineering, who wanted to start the casting industry, and by the information you know that the casting industry is not doing better, and probably you won't come to this industry, and there would be a hurdle for the future entrepreneurs and future investors. Say for example, let me take the another example, film industry. If films are not going better and no investors, no producers would come forward to invest in the movie, isn't it? So in total, there is a greater effect on the economy, and if there is a problem, and there would be a remedy also. If we have a sick, we'll go to the physicians and we'll get some prescriptions, we'll take it, and our health would be good. So like that, even industry would also be having some remedy. One is, we have seen the three types of sickness. One is born sick, become sick, and made sick. As for one, if your project you have prepared well and you have gone through it well and you have established well, probably you can avoid that. If you make a vision plan, mission plan, and a very good project plan, it could have been avoided. And you have to identify the sickness in the initial stages itself. I told how industry is going to give you the signal before it becomes sick. Not all of a sudden an industry is going to be sick. Gradually industry is going to become sick, and in the initial stages where you have a shortage of working capital, where there is a revenue loss, where there is a operating loss, these are all the signal which gives you, and if you take care in the initial stages itself, it could have been avoided. And if you feel that if there is a financial crunch, you have a problem for the finance, take the financial assistance from the banks, from the financial institutions, or some financiers, invest. Probably if you take care of in the initial stages itself, it could have been avoided. And improve the infrastructure. What is expected to the industry? One is artificial intelligence. Definitely today it's the need of the hour, and automation is the need of the hour. You have not updated the technology, and unless you update the technology, probably you cannot compete with your own competitors in the market. So therefore you have to take care of the infrastructure and technology altogether. So then marketing is a major factor. Say for example, you have picturized a movie, the top hero of the industry you have used in the movie, top heroine you have used, top directors and top photographers, and everybody are top. If you don't promote it well, if you don't market it well, probably your movie miserably fail. So therefore, marketing play a very, very vital role. You have to take care of the marketing, advertisement, and such campaign you have to take care. And the last one is training. Whether you recruit the unskilled people, semi-skilled people, immaterial. Once you recruit the unskilled people or the semi-skilled people, if you give them a very good training, they would develop, and probably you can turn into a better prospect. So this is how we can correct the sickness. So this is all about the industrial sickness. Now let me sum up the industrial sickness. We have understood the meaning of the industrial sickness, the different definitions of the industrial sickness, then the causes of sickness, internal cause and external causes. So then the types of industrial sickness, then the reason for industrial sickness, and we also understood and discussed the remedies for industrial sickness. All the best. Thank you so much.